It's a Broadway show, and we're back with another stacked episode on Tamsen Fadal. Mamma Mia, here we go again. The music of ABBA in one of the most popular Broadway shows of all time. It's back for a limited run. I had a chance to catch up with the star of Mamma Mia, Christine Sherrill, who's making her Broadway debut. You have performed Mamma Mia thousands of times now, I guess, right?
It is thousands, isn't it?
Well, you were in Vegas for a long time.
Yeah, I first started with the company in 2006 as Tanya on the second national tour. I did that for a year when my oldest children were about 6, 7 years old.
Okay.
From that, I left the company, and then a couple years later, it came back, and I did a residency in Vegas as Donna. And here we are.
How does it feel to be in front of the Broadway audience? Does it feel different? I mean, you know the role now. You've performed it so many times.
Yeah, and I try to take confidence in that, knowing that I know her and I know what I'm doing, so that I feel a responsibility, to tell this story and not let my nerves get in the way. So I've done a pretty good job of it.
I like that. I like that. Your kids have grown up around the show, right?
Yeah.
All of them. You have 3 boys?
I have 3 boys, and when I first became a part of the Mamma Mia family, my oldest, they were the age that my youngest is now. So he's experiencing it at the same age, which feels like, again, I feel like I've had a really crazy journey getting here. It's been complex. I've been a mother, I've been a business owner, I've been a teacher. So I didn't really take a straight path to Broadway, obviously. I'm sort of just taking everything that's coming to me. It definitely doesn't feel easy, but it definitely feels right. And I was teaching 5th grade.
Wow.
When I got a call to come in for this particular contract. I've kind of been back and forth between being a performer and being a teacher. And I love this family. So when they called, I was like, absolutely. I mean, not only, is this an incredible tour, but it's also my family, my Mamma Mia family. Absolutely, I'll go for this. The end of the school year was sort of approaching when the call came. And the funny story is that it was a Friday. I had my phone on Do Not Disturb because I was teaching 5th grade math.
Oh my gosh.
And then the following week, I thought, I should at least get feedback from my agency. I should just throw them a text and say, like, hey, did you get any feedback? And so I did, and my agent was like, ma'am, I left you a message on Friday.
No.
But my phone was on Do Not Disturb. Just with my 11-year-olds, no idea.
That is my favorite story. So you were teaching 5th grade math.
Yes.
When you found out you landed the lead role in Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
That's a headline.
That's a headline.
That's a headline. There's nothing else to say. That's wonderful.
But everything that's been in this path feels really serendipitous, even down to the fact that my twins experienced Mamma Mia at the same age as my youngest now, that they're at the same point in their lives.
I think that's amazing. I think that there's something there to all that. I really do. I think of those as coincidences,
Yeah.
When you talk about not taking a straight path to Broadway, I think it's really important for young people out there to hear that message, because I think there's a lot of people that think, you're going to come into New York City, you're going to audition, that's what it's going to be, you're going to be here. And it's not always so easy, and it can be easy to give up. And that's not something that you did. Can you talk a little bit about not taking the straight path? Because sometimes I think that can be even better.
Yeah, well, it was really important to me to have a balanced life because I knew that I wanted a family, and I knew that there were a lot of things in my life that I valued. So I also did that. And I have to be honest and say, I don't know if I could have handled it or if I deserved it right out of college.
Wow,
Either thing. I'm just a different person now, and I feel like leading a company is a really big responsibility to inform the company of how to be graceful, how to remain balanced and grounded and disciplined, for sure. And I don't know if I had that when I was 20. Without getting emotional, I spent a large part of my life being a mother. And it's been really lovely to have these 3 boys and my husband all say, this is your turn. You did for us what we needed. We're good now, and it's your turn.
It's incredible to see that. I am a huge advocate seeing women go into these next chapters and seasons and be like, okay, this is for me now. I did it for everybody else, and I mean, you are the example of that. You know, you did all of those things, and now when you step out there in a different light than you would have possibly at 20 years old, and a really incredible one.
Yeah, and I also feel I'm at this point in my life where I feel really lucky to tell this particular story.
What is it about this story?
You know, I think that people tend to look at Mamma Mia and think that it's a jukebox musical and that it can be fluffy. I think it's really important to tell this story about finding your identity, you know. Obviously, the storyline is about Sophie finding her identity. One of my favorite lines in the show is when Sky says to Sophie, I want to get married knowing who I am. And he says, that's not about knowing who your father is, that's about you. And I think that this story not only tells the story of her finding her identity, but Donna. You know, I know from a mother's perspective that you continue to figure out who you are, and that a lot of that comes from how you raise your children and who they become. And in this story, Donna is watching Sophie and who she becomes, and I think her journey changes with her daughters, and it's really important. And I think that that's why it appeals to people, not just mothers and daughters, but everyone is trying to figure out who they are their whole lifetime.
Oh, Mary is Broadway's reigning queen of comedy, now featuring a star-studded cast.
Hi, I'm Jinkx Monsoon. I see what Cole and Sam have done with this show, and it feels so akin to what Dela and I do every year with the Jinkx and Dela holiday show. You know, the reason why people respond to it so much is because the heart and soul of the artist lives in this piece, you know? Like, you can easily see what is important to the artist by seeing their work, and I just think it's amazing to see that. And growing up queer and growing up gender nonconforming and finding that out for myself, that I was gender nonconforming, you know, oops. You don't feel like there's a lot out there for you. So to not only see really unapologetically vibrant people take up so much space, but see it be responded to with such love and such triumph because it's so authentic. The very first Broadway experience I had, I was 9 years old or 10 years old, and my aunt took me to see Rent. Now, most of it went completely over my head, but I saw the character of Angel. I saw that there were roles for me and for people like me. And it got me excited about the idea of being a performer, you know, because I knew I wanted to be a performer and I knew who I was, and I was worried there weren't gonna be enough roles for me to make a whole lifetime's career out of, you know? But Cole created more, and now there are more, and I'm so excited to be part of this wave of this new wave of representation on Broadway, because I think it's breathing a really beautiful new life into Broadway.
All hail the Queen. Tony winner Kristin Chenoweth back on Broadway in the new musical, Queen of Versailles. Kristin starring alongside Oscar winner F. Murray Abraham. It's a true story of a billionaire Florida couple and their mission to build the largest private home in North America.
I am so happy to be in this show. It's the best thing I've ever worked on in my life. It's so much fun for many reasons. The music, of course, but also the people I'm working with. They're the best singers and dancers on Broadway.
So what's with all those big pink moving trucks? Well, this past week, we got to find out who's in the rest of the cast. So let's move those trucks.
Some of the best actors I've ever worked with.
This show is about the American dream, and that's exactly what has brought all of us here today. I cannot wait for you all to experience The Queen of Versailles, starting on October 8th.
It's time to take a walk with a Broadway star, so let's send it out to Charlie Cooper.
Jak.
Hi.
Listen, we're here.
We're
it's
here.
raining, but we're going to make the most of it. It's
because you're letting me walk you to work today, which I'm
so
super excited about.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for accompanying me. I'm very scared in these streets. So I appreciate that.
It's funny, we were just talking about Liverpool versus
Yeah.
New York City, and you were talking about loving it here. And how could you not? Because you are starring in a show that you are making people laugh in. You're teaching them about history. You're doing all the things. Tell me a little bit about what drew you to Operation Mincemeat.
So I was such a big fan of the writers. I really, really wanted to engage with anything that they did. Truly, I wanted to be there as a spectator or as, you know, part of the group. So when they said they were doing a musical, they used to write these plays and they said, we're going to do a musical. And I was like, oh, well, I do musicals. You have to let me be in it. You really have to let me be in your musical. And they did an open audition and I turned up and they knew me as a fan. They were like, here comes this big fan. And I did my audition and they were like, oh no, he's great. He can be in it. He can stay. So I've been with the show ever since. So yeah, it wasn't even that I was drawn to it. It was that I was like desperate to do it. It was like, it was a must. And it turned out I was right to want to do that.
I love that so much. Let's walk to work.
Please,
let's
do it.
It's funny, that makes me think of the Mincefluencers.
Yeah.
You guys' like fan base that is
love
just
it.
like all for it.
Our army of nerds.
Yeah, an army of nerds, but how exciting though to have that kind of fan base that like comes to the theater dressed up, like ready to just be energized for this performance.
Yeah.
Is there a part in the show that you absolutely love performing because of the reaction of the audience?
Yes, there's a moment in Act 2 when I'm playing one character and I transform into a different character before the audience's very eyes. I take 3 steps backwards, and in those 3 steps, I change into somebody else. And I love doing that. That is such a joy because it's like, that's what the show's all about. We're showing, you know, what we can do. We're sort of showing our hand and showing the magic. So that's my favorite moment. And there's always, normally when we've done it, there's a gasp, which I think, and it's so simple what we do, but it still makes people go, wow, magic is real.
Right.
And I really appreciate that. That makes me really happy.
So I imagine there are a lot of Americans who weren't familiar with the story necessarily. Were you, like, growing up familiar with it?
No. So when people hear, they come in and they say, well, we don't know the story. I'm guessing you learn it in school.
Right.
And we don't.
Interesting.
It's like a weird, obscure little story that, the story came to prominence in the last sort of 20 years is when people started to be like, oh no, okay, this is a real thing that we need to pay attention to.
Right.
It really helped tip the scales that win us the war. So yeah, it's not one that I knew at all. I had to do all the research before I started.
What were your first thoughts when you read about it? Were you like, what the heck, is this real?
My first thought was, why didn't they teach us this? Like in school, they teach you, oh, isn't it sad? And we're all starving on rations and quick, everybody get under the bath. Right. And I'm like, that's miserable. Like, why don't you teach us the weird harebrained schemes, the fun that people manage to have? I'm glad. I'm really glad to know the story. It makes me look at that time in a different light. It makes me happy, I think.
Well, it's pretty incredible, and it's such a learning experience, but also incredibly funny. And listen, you have a show to do.
I do, yeah.
So thank you for letting me take some of your time pre-show and break a leg.
Thank you so much. Thank you. See you soon.
See ya.
Bye.
Chicago celebrates 29 years on Broadway this year. It's one of my favorite musicals of all time, and I'm so excited to share it with you.
Give them the old razzle dazzle.
I actually had a chance to make my one night only guest appearance on stage.
Let's have you step this way, boom, boom. We're gonna go opposite each other.
And you might not realize this, but even in a small part, just for one night, it takes a lot of work to get ready. I brought our cameras with me when I went into the rehearsal room, and it was a blast. And it's actually not the first time I've had the honor of joining Chicago at the Ambassador Theater. This show means so much to me. I was in this show as a walk-on role over a decade ago, and now at 54 to come back and do this, I'm like, oh my gosh. So I feel nervous and excited, but I do feel like no matter what age you are, it's never too late.
Coming up later this season on the Broadway Show, I'll show you more of the rehearsal process, and we'll go on stage for my big Broadway return.
I think I remember it all. I don't know.
Amazing. No, but it's already amazing.
Okay.
It's already amazing.
You're amazing.
Get your tickets to Chicago at Broadway.com.
By the time this ad is over, you could have already booked your ticket to Oz, Chicago, Hell's Kitchen, or the room where it happens. For 25 years, Broadway.com has been the most trusted name in theater tickets. With lightning fast checkout, legendary customer service, award-winning content. Because Broadway isn't the add-on to your trip to New York. It's the reason for it. Broadway.com. Your ticket to Broadway for 25 years.
Art is back on Broadway this fall, and it is star-studded. Neil Patrick Harris, Bobby Cannavale, and James Corden all returning to Broadway in the first ever revival of the Tony-winning play. Here's an all-new edition of Building Broadway.
Here's the thing with art. If you have 3 actors and you don't believe they're friends, that play is not going to work. It's not going to work. So I was on vacation, and I came back a day early because we were having a big photo shoot with all of them. And they had never been together. I had cast it, the other 2, but so I wanted to observe it and go, how are they reacting to each other? Because that's going to be important. And it was great, and they were great. And I'm only saying that because see, you have to deal with the actors themselves, and then you have to deal with the characters. And but if the actors don't connect with each other, it's a very hard play to do. You know, I always say my favorite thing is, you know, lock a couple people in a room. That's interesting to me. You know, 12 Angry Men, lock the door. You know, whatever it is. So the idea of just saying, hey, these 3 friends are going to have to lock up, not literally, but and have to deal with this is, I just find that really interesting. Yes, there's very funny things in the play, and there will be funny, and the audience will, you know, I always say, will tell you things that you were, oh, that surprised me. Oh, I didn't think that was going to be funny, or I thought that would be funny, or so. I tend to steer away from that somewhat, and for at least at the beginning, and just go, okay, what's at stake? What do you all want? What's the problem getting into the room? How does it all shift? And then I think, in a really good play, which this is, the comedy takes care of itself. If you go after comedy first, I think you might be in trouble. I've thought quite a lot about, I'm older now, and I've had friends for 25 years. I now have friendships that have lasted, and I always joke with people, I go, yeah, I'm at an age I don't want new friends. I have friends, and I want to keep focused on those friends. So if I do find a new friend, it's a pretty special thing. So I have very much looked at my relationship with my friends, and how that's changed, or how do you hold on as we all change, and as we get older we change. Priorities change. Is it enough to hold on to that?
History is happening in a city near you. It's a national tour of the Tony Award-winning musical Suffs, the epic and timely musical about the 1913 women's suffrage movement.
The gains will feel small and the loss is too large. Keep marching, keep marching. You'll rarely agree with whoever's in charge. Keep marching, keep marching.
It was the hardest project I've ever done because the subject matter is deep and rich and complicated, and it's a chapter of our history that has not been significantly dramatized on the stage before. So I think the whole experience was sort of a long decade process of having to reconcile the feeling of responsibility I felt to, quote, like, get it right, and also my acceptance of the fact that I would never get it right. I would just be my one perspective on this one slice of the history, and to accept the imperfection of that, which also worked its way into the theme of the show of, like, that we have to try to accept the imperfection of a movement, the impermanence of any social or political victory, and still march on. So that was one of my sort of just central challenges throughout.
This music is just, it's so intentional. And I think that that's something I keep coming back to with this show. Everything is so intentional, and you feel it, right? Like, you listen to Keep Marching and you're like, yes, I want to keep marching. It really lives in you physically. It's so specific, so intentional. It's so fun to sing. I love singing this music every day.
It's a powerful story, it's inspirational, and we have a lot of things to say in regards to what's going on in our world, but also it ignites you and it makes you feel like you can be a part of a place, and you can come and see Suffs and be like, I can do something, be it, you know, like join your club at school that inspires you, or join a youth group, or anything like that.
Our national tour cast is phenomenal. What I love is the spirit of the show we created on Broadway feels fully intact, and yet each of these performers bring their own unique, special sauce to it. And that's what's so beautiful about a piece of theater. It is this communal storytelling project that new groups take on over and over again, this sort of like Talmudic storytelling endeavor over generations. And this cast, I could not be happier. The country is in for a treat.
The future demands that we fight for it now. It will only be ours if we keep marching on. Come on, keep marching, marching, marching. Come on, keep marching.
And that's going to do it for us. But for tickets, or if you want to see some extended cuts of the interviews, you can head over to Broadway.com and be sure to check out The Broadway Show Uncut, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is The Broadway Show.